Welcome back to the C Block, or final section of this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Alaina Pinto, and our last reminder to download our free app called PCM TV. It'll give you access to the latest news and the archived best of PCM programming over the past 3 years. Yes, it is available at the App Store and Google Play. Okay. First up is Ohio and Christina Brisson, whose state is dealing with a supply shortage of flower as adult use continues to fuel that market to the point of too much demand compared to its supply. Here's Christina with election results in that state, sponsored by Yellow Labs, now available in 40 dispensaries right now.
In Willow Creek, Rory, renowned for birdwatching, embraced nature's elegance. Preparing for his woodland sojourn, he used Grape Focus THC Mist from Yellow Labs. Each spritz honed his senses, capturing avian beauty. Immersed in the forest symphony, Rory's lens froze vibrant moments. Emerging at twilight, gratitude filled him for the mist's clarity. Recalling, find Yellow Labs near you. Rory ordered more of his mist.
I'm Christina Brisson with Over the Top Renovations with your weekly Ohio Cannabis Report with Cannabis Coast to Coast News. It was a red vote across the state of Ohio this election day, with Trump taking office and U.S. Senator J.D. Vance now being vice president-elect. Sherrod Brown also lost out to Bernie Moreno with the U.S. Senate seat. And the Supreme Court is now 6-1 Republican as well. But that's not the only news. Hubbard, Ohio, who I mentioned previously on the show, who had a ban against adult use recreational sales, had their vote this election day, and they voted to lift that ban. So the fight's definitely still on. That is your weekly Ohio Cannabis Report, with more news to come. I am Christina Brisson with Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
The Ohio Cannabis Report is supported by Yellow Labs and Better Ways to THC.com. Search for Yellow Labs near me and find one of 40 dispensaries in Ohio carrying these amazing mists and creams.
Now let's check in on Arkansas, where a ballot question there to expand their existing medical program got shut down by that state's Supreme Court. Unfortunately, that decision came a little too late to stop the printing of the question on the ballots. No matter how many votes are cast, though, they will not be counted. Kevin Shakir is the Shake Man and has more from Arkansas.
Good day to you. This is Cannabis Coast to Coast News, the report from Arkansas with Kevin Shakir, aka the Shake Man. Just want to give you again the 411 on the results from Arkansas. Basically, we can't get them. They're ghost. They won't ever appear simply because of the ruling, again, by the Arkansas Supreme Court. They let us know that for some reason, and I would definitely say it's the political climate that's going on at this particular time, it was not able to be passed. There are outlets or escape situations that were used. Again, the way that the ballot was put together, the way that the wording was on the ballot, the folks that went out and gathered the signatures. This was written with a lot of context of, we don't want to do it, but we'll think of a good excuse to where we can't do it. Even though we want to see how many votes that'll come in, we don't want to really know. So every time the count was given, there was always an excuse for the count not to be counted, which is, again, counterintuitive to anybody that believes in cannabis and the culture. We asked for, again, the right to have the use as adults. As someone that has, cannabis is not new to anyone. So everyone that probably says that they haven't used it, it is a drug. It's been used by our ancestors. It's been used in modern medicine. It's used right now by plenty of folks that have seen the benefits of CBD, THC, and all the contents. So again, do we sit here and not fight for our rights? We have to fight for our rights to vote. We have to fight for our rights to use cannabis. So I urge everyone out there, especially if you're in Arkansas and other states where you're being held back as as citizens of the United States. Again, as we say that we want to have these rights, and as the political climate is there, we have to also understand that we do have power against the political climate. You know, the power is in the action. So without action, it will keep on doing what it does. So, you know, the squeaky wheel is the one that gets the oil. This is Kevin Shakir, aka the Shake Man.
Next up, we have a new correspondent from California who will be covering that state for us for a while. Her name is Dina Nagib, and she has the story of a new proposition that was passed in the Golden State. Here's Dina.
I'm Dina Nagib, Principal Consultant at Grass Goddess Consulting, here to give you the latest developments in California for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. In a week of plenty of national news, two stories have dominated the Golden State's landscape. One focused on criminal justice reform from the election, and the other on consumer safety. First, Californians have spoken loud and clear in support of Proposition 36, a measure that will increase criminal penalties for certain theft and drug offenses, though it does not directly affect cannabis and is focused on quote-unquote harder drugs. Prop 36 is relevant to the war on drugs and demonstrates an important shift in voters. Proposition 36 aims to take a tougher stance on crime, particularly regarding theft and more serious drug offenses. Supporters argue that the measure will help deter crime, reduce theft and drug trafficking, and increase protection for communities and businesses. However, opponents raise concerns about exacerbating California's mass incarceration problem, increasing the strain on the state's resources, and potentially deepening racial disparities in the criminal justice system. Californians are sending a message different than the one they did 10 years ago that loosened up the penalties, showing the shift in thinking, especially since the pandemic. Meanwhile, the California Department of Cannabis Control issued a recall last week on Rove Drink Loud THC shot beverages due to them being acidified beverages, which are not allowed as there is risk of botulinum toxin amongst other potential contaminant pathogens. These products have been sold for more than a year now, and the recall has just been announced, which adds to the ongoing problem in California where recalls are being announced much later than expected. That's it for California this week. See you next time. This is Dina Nagib from Grass Goddess Consulting.
This is Debi Facey, your Canadian correspondent with the Canadian Coast to Coast News Report. So what we have in Canada this week is the GCAC, which is the Global Compliance Applications Corp, has partnered with the Dina Consulting and the Citizen Green Venture in a $167 million cannabis funding initiative, which is going to be geared towards the Veterans Affairs of Canada. This program is going to connect over 1,000 Canadian veterans to premium cannabis, and it is going to be providing each veteran with 3 grams that is going to be reimbursed by the Veterans Affairs. This is going to be something that is going to be great, especially because since recreational medical has been kind of out and there hasn't been anything when it came to financial benefits, especially for any medical and veterans. Next, what we have, especially after the after the elections, the impact that we are going to be finding is that we had a 21% drop when it came to cannabis growth, 11% drop in organogram, and an 18% drop in Aurora cannabis when it came to the trades this week. We're not too sure if it's going to continue to decline, but hopefully it doesn't. But at the same time, we're just going to have to see what happens. Last but not least, We have the Elevate Conference, which is going to be November 12th here in Toronto, Ontario. And it's a conference where it connects bud tenders and industry makers and leaders to not only connect, but also educate and to further create a culture that we hope to see benefit not only ourselves, but our consumers. This sold-out conference is on November 12th. But at the same time, I will be updating you with all of the goods from that show. This is Debi Facey with your Cannabis Coast to Coast News Report. Peace.
There's a new weed boss on the Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission. After 11 months, the CCC named their new executive director. His name is David Lakeman, and he actually started here in Massachusetts before leaving to join the Illinois regulatory body, and now he returns to guide the commission that has had a tumultuous existence over the past year. And finally, the end of fall is usually the time to harvest the last outdoor grows, and what better time to hold a competition called the Harvest Cup? Since 2017, growers and manufacturers flock to the DCU Center in Worcester, Massachusetts, and compete to determine who grows the best flower rolls, the best pre-rolls, concentrates, edibles, and a variety of other categories of products made from cannabis. Over 5,000 people enjoyed the variety of products that were on display. One participant every year is Caroline Frankel of Caroline's Dispensaries in Hopedale and Uxbridge. Caroline is a legend of sorts as the first social equity licensee to open in the state. I've been to her dispensary before. It's good.
Have you been to every one of these, Caroline?
Single one. So I've been here since 2019. We've been to every single Harvest Cup here in Massachusetts, and it's great here today.
Is there something about this industry that you can put your finger on that actually feeds the passion that everybody has?
So what I like best about this show, Jimmy, is that it's a customer-driven show. These are the enthusiasts of Massachusetts, and they're right here in Worcester County, which is the stomping ground for my show, and you could actually feel the energy. This is one of my favorite shows here in Massachusetts.
That'll do it for this week's Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I'm Alaina Pinto. Remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there, so use it responsibly, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, it's a great question because cannabis is very exciting. It's almost like, mom and pop drugstores. You could start whatever you wanted. You could be pretty successful. And then there are the business people who see the revenue potential. And those are the ones that I think they are going to become the buyers going forward. And then smaller companies will be the sellers. And then there'll be another group of like, what the heck happened? And there'll probably be some craft survivors as well. But I think, the access to capital and business, this is becoming a mature business, just like craft beer or the car industry from, the 1910s to today. Yeah, I think Schedule 3 will have radical changes. I think we're going to see consolidation in the space independent of Schedule 3. Schedule 3 will influence the flavor of the consolidation, but it's going to happen no matter what.
Will that open up more capital?
It'll open up more capital, more access. One way or another, as the industry consolidates, they're going to have to get access to capital. The buyers will, and that's going to change the markets fundamentally.
I think I messed up. Did you know there's a place that covers all the cannabis news you need? Welcome to Pro Cannabis Media, your go-to for all things cannabis. PCM is the CNBC of weed, bringing you the latest news and talk shows with a twist. We've got 16 state correspondents and multimedia journalists from around the US and Canada.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Jones with Big Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report.
I'm Karen Black from Green Finger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report.
I'm Amy Carter from Michigan Weedsters.
Andrew Behringer here reporting from Washington, D.C.
It's Debi Facey with the Canadian Toke of the Week.
It all started back in 2018 when founder Jimmy Young kicked off the In the Weeds podcast. His mission? Documenting the fight to end cannabis prohibition. Fast forward to today and we've got Cannabis Coast to Coast with Alaina Pinto, delivering the nation's only TV-style cannabis news show.
Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly roundup of the news from the industry. I'm Alaina Pinto.
As of August 2024, PCM has racked up over 1.2 million views and 14.5 million impressions on our YouTube channel. With 15,000 subscribers and growing, our reach is spreading like wildfire. PCM's website, YouTube, Rumble, Discord, Roku, Twitch, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and even our very own PCM TV app. Get your cannabis news fix with Pro Cannabis Media. We're here to keep you informed and entertained. Stay tuned and stay lifted.